All right, good afternoon, good morning, whatever. It's 1:18. Like we have a tornado down right now in Humble. Quick call. This thing spun up real quick, but urgent call to message. Anyone in Humble needs to be in shelter now. We likely have a tornado down. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch over to the high-res radar, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is tighter than a tick's behind. This thing is spun up real quick. Look at the debris tracker. We have debris, so we have a tornado down now in Humble. We'll put some roads out. Tornado down within the last 2 minutes, Will Clayton Parkway at Interstate 29. Again, tornado down, Interstate 69, Will Clayton Parkway in Humble right now. Very strong gate-to-gate circulation. This is 60 outbound, about 50 inbound. Tornado debris signature evident. We've got a very strong gate-to-gate circulation with a TDS. That's a tornado debris signature. Will Clayton Parkway, Old Humble Drive, moving east-northeast. Those of you in Humble need to be in shelter now. This thing spun up real quick. Evidence to that, I was actually in the home gym on the elliptical. That's why I'm out of breath. We've got a tornado down right now in Humble. It's going to be coming up to FM 1960 real quick. Again, tornado down now. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground. Tornado debris signature. Those of you in Humble need to be in shelter now. Those of you in Kingwood, you're next. Kingwood, Huffman. Tornado is confirmed doing damage. So those of you in Humble, you've got, I'm sorry, you literally had no warning. This thing spun up that quick. Those of you in Kingwood and Huffman, you've got at least a little warning. Need to be in shelter now. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And do it now. Alright, this thing spun up real quick. We have a tornado debris signature in Humble right now, literally in the town. It's going to be the blue donut you see right there. That is debris being lofted by a tornado. A tornado is an updraft. Switch over to the storm relative product. That'll update in a second, but you can see we have a strong gate-to-gate circulation, or did at least 3 minutes ago. So again, a tornado is down in Humble right now. Those of you in Kingwood, those of you in Huffman, you need to be in shelter. This thing spun up real quick. It may not be around long. It may end up being something that just spun up real quick, dropped, did damage for a couple minutes, and lifted. But we don't know that yet. All I can tell you is we've got a tornado debris signature literally in downtown Humble right now, just east of Interstate 69 at FM 1960. Switch over to the velocity mode. You can see if, yeah, still there. Not as strong as the last scan, but again, tornado down doing damage. Likely had a tornado drop very near Interstate 69 and Will Clayton Parkway, moving north-northeast, coming up to FM 1960 now. This is about a 75-second-old scan. So again, those of you in Kingwood, those of you in Huffman need to be in shelter immediately. A confirmed tornado in downtown Humble, right off I-69 at FM 1960, moving northeast towards Kingwood. Again, not certain if this is going to stay down or if it's going to go away as quick as it popped up, but Humble had no warning, I'm afraid. This thing spun up real quick. So, Kingwood, you're next. You need to be in shelter. That's going to be lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Don't go outside and look for this. It is wrapped in rain. It's pouring rain. If you think you're going to see it, you're mistaken. You'll see it when you're in it and get impaled by a 2x4 because you're standing outside and thought it was a good idea to do that instead of seeking shelter. That's why we tell folks to seek shelter. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Alright, we don't want you near windows in case you have some debris that shatters windows. If you're doing what you're supposed to, you seek shelter, you'll be fine. This, in all likelihood, is a brief tornado that's not going to be strong enough to do super significant damage, but still, if you decide to go outside and look for the bloody thing, it could easily injure you since stuff's flying around. A tornado isn't just, violently rotating air, it picks stuff up. Pieces of a house, for example, roof shingles, fence posts, wood on fences, whether it be wood or metal, tree branches, etc. All that becomes flying shrapnel. So you need to seek shelter. In all likelihood, this thing's already starting to spin back down, but still, tornado warning's in effect, given the fact this thing spun up faster than a state trooper going on its way to get a donut. So those of you in Humble, you just took a hit. Downtown Humble, from about Will Clayton Parkway near Interstate 69, probably on the east side of the interstate, barely, up to near FN 1960 through downtown Humble, probably just took a hit from a tornado. This thing could put another tornado down at any time. Here's the latest velocity scan. Circulation's coming up to Hamblin Road at Interstate 69. Hamblin Road, Interstate 69, tornadoes coming up to you now. You need to be in a safe place immediately. Hamblin Road. You've got Interstate 69. Next up, it's going to be Kingwood Drive in Kingland. You've got Woodland Hills Drive. This is on the west side of that neighborhood. Coming up to Kingwood Drive next. Oh, so again, tornado probably just impacted areas on the east side of Interstate 69, or at least near the interstate from near Will Clayton Parkway up to FN 1960, including downtown Humble. We had a tornado debris signature. Let's see if we still do. And we do. You see that little blue donut right there? That's tornado debris signature. It's not a super clear-cut, scream-in-your-face blue donut, but it nevertheless is a tornado debris signature. Right there in conjunction with the couplet. Reflectivity, completely and utterly wrapped in rain. So again, this thing is still at least sporadically touching down, doing some damage. It's probably right up on Hamblin Road right now near Interstate 69, maybe half a mile east of the interstate. Next up will be Kingwood Drive, near Woodland Hills Drive. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Again, you do what you're supposed to do. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. You'll be fine. I mean, look, this is not one of those violent, mile-wide tornadoes that stays down for an hour. This is likely a brief tornado that can do roof damage, break some windows, cause fence damage, etc., which is why we want you away from windows, many walls as you can get, and that way you're protected from debris. Here's the latest scan. Remnant tornado debris signature. I don't know if that's a tornado still down or just a remnant debris falling out from the tornado and the tornado's lifted. We'll see. We'll wait for the new velocity scan, but again, this is the latest reflectivity scan. You can see what we call a bounded weak echo region. That's an area of diminished reflectivity return surrounded by heavier rain. That's because the circulation, probable tornado, has rain rotating around it, and then that little donut is where, well, possible tornado would be. Wait for the newest velocity scan. It's not super strong, but it's still there, so we still probably have an intermittent tornado doing some intermittent damage. I'll go ahead and zoom back out. Again, this is now in Kingwood. Kingwood coming up on Kingwood Drive near Woodland Hills Drive. After that, we're going to be going from Woodland Hills Drive up north-northeast towards North Park Drive, west of Lake Houston Parkway. And then eventually, if it stays down, we could be coming up to Ford Road. We'll see if it stays down that far. Mills Branch Drive as well. So again, we'll switch over to the velocity mode. You can see gate-to-gate circulation. Winds about 54 miles an hour moving away from the radar down in Dickinson. Winds towards about 24. So about 75-mile gate-to-gate circulation. We've still got a weak tornado debris signature. That's not clear if it's still down or if that's just debris falling out from when the tornado was down in downtown Humble about 5 to 8 minutes ago. But whatever it is, if it's down or not, still expecting strong winds up over 60 miles an hour, whether it's from a tornado or from the rear flank downdraft on the backside of the circulation. And we still have, it's completely surrounded in heavy rainfall, so you're not going to see anything. You're just going to see rain, and then the rain's going to start spinning around, and then you're going to have a problem. So again, those of you in Kingwood need to be in shelter. Those of you in Humble, you're good. You're good to go, Humble. It's still pouring. You've actually got another storm coming in from your southwest that is actually in itself showing some weak rotation. It's over the south side of Intercontinental Airport. But for now, the primary circulation that produced a tornado in Humble is north of town. Humble, you're fine for now. Additional storms to your southwest, but they don't look tornadic at this time. Kingwood, you've got a possible tornado down coming up on North Park Drive near Woodland Hills Drive. That's going to be in Kingwood. This radar scan is 3.5 minutes old, so if there's a tornado down, it is likely by now over North Park Drive near Woodland Hills Drive, moving up towards Ford Road at Lake Houston Parkway, if Lake Houston was actually to go up to Ford Road. There's the latest scan coming in. We'll switch over to the debris mode, and you can see, yeah, we still got a tornado debris signature. That is a tornado debris signature. The radar is able to put all of the data into a computer and analyzes it. Raindrops in this area all have a similar shape and size, so that is what's shown in red. When you start getting different objects, shapes, and sizes, the correlation coefficient, or is it the same shape and size, percentage goes down. And that's what you're looking at. This product is telling us, hey, there's stuff out here that isn't the same shape or size. If we were talking about a winter storm, I'd explain that, and further, we're not. That's debris from a intermittent tornado being, well, picked up. A tornado is an updraft, so we probably have some leaves, some twigs, maybe some shingles being drawn up by the tornado, and that's what the radar is detecting. Switch over to the storm relative velocity, and you can see it's right there. I mean, tornado likely just moved over parts of this area. For example, Woodland Grove Drive, coming up on Woodland Hills Drive. Again, we'll look. Here's your reflectivity in area of very heavy rain. Your lower correlation coefficient, known as debris tracker. I'll say this, it's a marginal signature. It is not a clear-cut, screaming debris signature, but in conjunction with the circulation, in conjunction with what we have in terms of velocity and reflectivity, I'm comfortable saying that's debris. So we've had a tornado down, or at least still down, or intermittently down, doing damage. This is a confirmed tornado in Kingwood, moving north-northeast at about 20 miles an hour, so it's not moving super fast. Those of you after Kingwood, this is going to be moving up towards the south side of Roman Forest. So, let me go ahead, we'll zoom back out. Let me turn the telestrator off so we get rid of the squiggly circle of doom that shows I can't draw worth much. We'll go up here, alright? You've got State Highway 99. This is circulation, and tornado is east of Interstate 69. If you're west of 69, you're fine. This isn't a problem. It's an interesting road name, Champion Rod and Gun Club Road. Okay, whatever. I'm not judging. This will be coming up to FM 1415. Again, this is going to be on the south side of Roman Forest. Let me see if I can change the font settings. So here's the latest radar scan. We'll search and see if we still have correlation coefficient. Now here's some good news. Last scan we had the clear donut, now we don't as much. That I cannot say for sure is a tornado debris signature. Let's switch over to the velocity mode, and we'll see if we have a clear-cut circulation. It hasn't updated yet. The velocity data usually comes in about 15 to 20 seconds after the reflectivity data. So let's go ahead, we'll zoom, we'll wait for the data to come in. But either way, those of you in Kingwood, you need to still be in shelter. Those of you up into Roman Forest, which is north of Kingwood, you need to be in shelter. Possible rain-wrapped tornado could still be down. We've had a tornado probably intermittently touch down all the way from near Will Clayton Parkway and Interstate 69 northeast to FM 1960 through a neighborhood area from Kingwood Drive around Hamlin Road, Woodland Hills Drive, that area, up Woodland Hills Drive, North Park Drive, and there's the latest velocity. It's not as strong. It's clearly rotating, but we're talking about a circulation now down to about 40 miles an hour. Back when it was in Humble, Will Clayton Parkway, Old Humble Road up to FM 1960, the circulation was about 110 miles per hour, and it spun up real quick. Now, that being said, we are seeing a new circulation develop south of Humble again. This is going to be near Interstate 69, southeast of Aldine. This one is not tornado warned at this time, but it's worth watching. I guess technically the circulation we do need to watch now too is on Will Clayton Parkway west of 69, east side of Intercontinental Airport. This is going to be a possible circulation spinning up, which, if it was like the last one, could put a brief tornado down real quick again. So those of you in Humble, I'd go ahead and stay sheltered now. We have a new circulation coming up to Will Clayton Parkway, very near Interstate 69. This one's on the west side of the interstate, so about half a mile west of where this first tornado tracked 15 minutes ago. This one could also impact downtown Humble, so those of y'all be ready. You may have a second tornado trying to develop on near Humble, Will Clayton Parkway, just west of Interstate 69, moving north-northeast towards downtown Humble. This one's about half a mile west of the previous tornado from 15 minutes ago, but it's close enough. It frankly doesn't matter. You need to take shelter. So again, circulation number one, that's had a intermittent tornado down for about 10 to 15 minutes on a weakening trend for the moment, coming up on Ford Road near Lake Houston Parkway, north side of Kingwood, south side of Roman Forest. A potential new tornado developing now just southwest of Humble, coming up on Interstate 69 between FM 1960 and Will Clayton Parkway, literally almost very close to where the previous tornado tracked 15 minutes ago. So we want folks to be in their safe places still in Humble, especially if you're west of Humble. Those of you on Interstate 69 near Townsend Boulevard, this could be an issue for you in the next 5 minutes or less. Then we're talking about Interstate 69 and Hamlin Road. You could be next on the problem list for a new developing circulation that could put a brief weak tornado down over the next 5 minutes. And there are no other tornado warnings in the state. Harris County, you're clear from this. This is not a Harris County issue. This is northeast of downtown Houston, the Houston Metro, etc. So good news is we no longer have a tornado debris signature with the circulation in Kingwood. Circulation is much weaker now. You can see it here. It was 110 miles an hour, then it went down to 70, down to 40. Now it's down to probably close to 20. We'll look at the debris tracker. We were looking for a blue donut. We don't see one. There's yellow and green stuff. Probably some radar data artifacts. I don't believe it's an actual tornado. We'll look at velocity data, and that confirms it. To have a tornado debris signature, it needs to be pretty much right on where you'd have the strongest circulation. That's not present in this case. If we do have a new circulation developing, it's going to be just west of Humble, coming up on Townsend Boulevard and Interstate 69. We've got winds moving away from the radar in Dickinson, about 40 miles an hour, moving towards the radar about 16 to 20, so we'll just give it credit. 55 mile an hour gate to gate shear in a general area. Could put a brief tornado down. It's not your classic hook echo. Here's what we're looking at. You see this? On the back side, this is more of a bookend vortex type signature, not a classic supercellular hook, but still something that could at least produce damaging straight line winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour, perhaps a brief tornado. And we're not really seeing a tornado debris signature. Let's make that clear. This is what you're looking at. That's radar artifact data. You have to check it with reflectivity. There's no reflectivity values there. It's clear air, so that is a trick. A lot of newbie weather folks who may not know a lot about radar meteorology or severe weather often mistake that for tornado debris when it's just clear air. It's the radar thinking it's dust, essentially. It's not precipitating. you need reflectivity values of at least 40 dBz, yellows and reds, in conjunction with strong velocity and, well, a lowered CC value. We don't have that here. So let's make that clear. That's not a tornado debris signature. Overall, we're in better shape than we were 10 minutes ago. We don't have 110 mile an hour gate-to-gate couplet. I'm afraid there was probably a tornado already down when we had a tornado warning issued with the Humble storm earlier near Wilclane Parkway and Old Humble Road. This was something that spun up real quick, and I'm afraid sometimes that happens. Sometimes these can spin up so quickly that they're down before warning gets issued. It doesn't happen often anymore, but sometimes it does. But the Weather Service in Houston got a warning out on that real quick once it was obvious what was happening. Literally in the span of about 90 seconds, that happened. So good for them for getting a warning out quickly. Velocity-wise, I can't really say anything, which is good. We don't have any clear-cut signs of strong gate-to-gate circulation at this point. I'm hopeful that means we'll get rid of this tornado warning soon. I'm feeling much better about this. But again, about 15 minutes ago or so, I'm comfortable saying we likely had a tornado down for portions of a track from near Wilclane Parkway on the east side of Interstate 69 through downtown Humble near FM 1960, maybe within a few blocks of Interstate 69 on the east side, Highway 59. And then we had intermittent debris signatures up through Hamblin Road, Kingwood Drive, North Park Drive, near Woodland Hills Drive, a few blocks west of there. Does that mean we had a tornado down that whole time? No. It takes time for stuff to fall out of the sky. I know it sounds... Yeah, pretty much. That's what it is. What goes up must come down, and it doesn't just instantly come down. So sometimes you have shingles, tree limbs, etc. Tornado lifts them up a few thousand feet. Tornado dissipates. It takes a few minutes for all that stuff to fall back out of the sky, which the radar can still determine is debris. So sometimes tornado debris signatures last 5-10 minutes longer than the actual tornado. So that might be what happened, or we could have had a weak tornado intermittently hopscotching through this neighborhood, producing some minor damage. And trust me, we're going to know pretty soon, because this is a highly populated area, and there is a tornado debris signature, so it could be something like tin roof, metal roof, sheet metal. It's highly reflective. It's highly, it gets lit up pretty quickly in a radar data, so it could be something like that. But the good news is we're really not seeing a clear-cut sign of a tornado in this tornado warning at the moment. So if you're in Humble, if you're in Kingwood, if you're in Wood Branch, if you're in Roman Forest, which is just southeast of Wood Branch, you're technically under a tornado warning for another 19 minutes. But if the current trends continue, I think you'll be clear by 1:45. Now, something I am going to keep an eye on that's not under a tornado warning, but sure looks like it's trying to be a little spinny, mischievous thing, is this new thunderstorm on the south of all that. Taylor and Shirley. Notice how there's nothing obstructing warm, unstable air going into it? That's a problem. So this is going to be on the North Loop. This is near Mount Houston on the Sam Houston Tollway. Southeast of Humble, moving towards, passing north of Shelton, eventually could be going towards Dayton. Down the road. There's not a tornado warning right now, but all I'm saying is, I've been doing this for a few years. Don't be surprised if this starts to intensify as Taylor and Charlie, pretty good little hook echoes starting to show up. Don't be surprised if at some point this thing requires a tornado warning as it moves towards the city of Dayton up Highway 90. It may not. It may. I'm just trying to give folks a little bit of an early heads up that that doesn't look exactly like the most innocent little stormy out of the bunch we've seen. So, those of you from Humble to Kingwood up to Roman Forest, the threat has diminished significantly. I think the tornado warning is going to be canceled any minute now, frankly. I am concerned about this new circulation spinning up in Mount Houston. Not to the point where it's producing a tornado, but to the point where, I mean, it's got a pretty good circulation trying to develop a loft. So those of you in east side of Humble, up towards Huffman, we're gonna, even if this tornado warning out in Humble up to Kingwood, excuse me, is canceled, we're gonna stay here because I don't like the looks of this storm moving towards Lake Houston Parkway and FM 1960 up towards Huffman. It's suspicious enough to me. I feel more comfortable sticking it out here just in case it tries to start being more of a spinny. So let's take a look at what we've got. We've got a relatively broad but converging circulation. You've got winds in the green moving away from the radar in Dickinson, south side of Houston Metro off I-45. Excuse me. You got winds moving towards the radar, or excuse me, away from the radar in Dickinson. Green is moving towards, red's moving away. This is let me clear it. That's a converging signature. That's not necessarily a tornadic signature this second. This is broad. We're talking several miles, or areas where we have a rotating mesocyclone. It's situations like this where we start seeing that circulation tighten up like a ballerina. Think of a ballerina or an ice skater. They're out doing their thing. Their arms are out. They're dancing. Whatever. I look like a hula hoop. I look like a hula hoop. Their art, I'm a hula hoop. Bring their arms in, and they can spin faster. Same theory applies to this, where you have a circulation tighten up in terms of the area it covers. It can speed up, accelerate, intensify. There, I'm a thesaurus. That's when we can see something happen. Officially, there are no tornado warnings currently in effect. Humble, Kingwood. It better be Kingwood. I'm going to be mad. There it is. Kingwood. Yeah, cool. I got it right. You're clear. There are no tornado warnings. I want to make that perfectly clear. No tornado warnings. It's 1:45. Tornado warnings gone. Good chance this storm that is southeast of Humble coming up towards Huffman, north of Sheldon, may become a tornado problem in the next 30 minutes. So we're going to stay here because I don't like it. That being said, I'm going to do a few moments. Oh, it is 1:46 in the morning. Hey, good morning. I'm sorry you're having to watch me. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy and Chief David-Reimer. There are no tornado warnings currently in effect. Let's go ahead and zoom out, and I will show you. No tornado warnings. Houston, you're actually doing pretty well for yourself right now. The only issues we have are with flooding. Some folks have actually had 5 to 10 inches of rain. Northern Harris County. We're here still because I don't like the look of this thing. This is a supercell that has greatly improved in its structure over the last 10 minutes. Southeast of Humble, moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour. Those of you in Huffman, you're not under a warning right now, but frankly, let's just say this thing wouldn't take long to spin up if it decides to do so. So out of respect for that, out of the respect for 30 minutes ago, we had a tornado move through parts of Humble that spun up so quickly, the warning wasn't even able to get out for parts of it in time. We're going to stay here and cover this. We've got damage in Humble, by the way. Looks like there are power lines down, poles down, structure damage, and mutual aids being requested. Again, that's not a surprise. We had a tornado debris signature earlier. Let's be clear. That's not right now. That's about 25 minutes ago, where we likely had a tornado develop near Will Clayton Parkway, just east of Interstate 69, move north-northeast through the downtown Humble, across over FM 1960, and possibly intermittently touch down across Hamblin Road Kingwood Drive up Woodland Hills Drive to North Park Drive. Damage survey from the National Weather Service in Houston later today will confirm an exact track, but that's the way it looked off the radar velocity signatures and the tornado debris signature. Now, also, let me be clear by saying you cannot tell an exact tornado track or intensity based off radar data. That is a guesstimate on my part, and I fully acknowledge that. Nevertheless, I'm pretty comfortable with it. So, the reason we're still here is we have a intensifying circulation near State Loop 8 coming up on West Lake Houston Parkway. This is going to be southeast of Humble, east side of Mount Houston, northwest of Sheldon, moving northeast, probably towards Huffman, maybe even Dayton. There is no tornado warning at the moment. I would not be shocked if we need a tornado warning in a few minutes, which is why we're just going to stick it here and wait and see. I'd rather be wrong, have it weaken, and go away in 10 minutes versus me have to stop the live stream, have a tornado warning 2 minutes from now, come back. There's no point in doing that nonsense. So we're just going to stick it out and keep an eye on things here. Again, no tornado warnings currently in effect, but we are concerned enough. We're going to stick around and keep an eye on this little thing, which we're going to call Soupy, nickname for Supercell. Since we have no warnings, I guess we can be a bit nerdy, so we're going to do that. Clear-cut hook echo. This is your almost flying eagle-looking supercell. You can see shape almost resembles an eagle. In terms of warm inflow, you've got warm inflow, unstable, coming in from the south-southeast. This thing is what we call tail end Charlie. There is nothing to its south or southeast. It has an unimpeded access to warm, unstable inflow winds. This is your hook echo. Winds coming down on the backside of the thunderstorm, swinging around, creating a circulation, which you can see pretty well when you look at the velocity data. So, when this velocity data updates here in a second, you'll see winds in the red coming out of the south, southeast, winds in the green rotating back around your rear flank downdraft coming out of the north-northwest. We're waiting to see if this circulation aloft is able to tighten up and intensify enough to become tornadic and complete the evolution of tornadogenesis, in which the rotation aloft, we're looking probably 2,000 feet above the ground right now, is able to descend all the way to the surface. And if so, that's your tornado, and then we have problems. At the moment, we do not have a tornado warning. I think we are on the cusp of needing a tornado warning, which is why we're staying here. And out of respect to the storm 35 minutes ago that literally blew through Humble, that ended up producing what was likely a brief, weak tornado, and damage reports we're hearing out of Humble do confirm that. Damage to some structures. We don't know how severe. I'd assume at least some roof damage. Damage to power lines, power poles broken. That's not a surprise. But again, rotation with this thunderstorm is increasing. So we're going to stay here, because I think the threat this thing puts is going to need a tornado warning in the next 30 minutes. I'm going to be honest. I think this thing will be tornado warned at some point in the next 30 minutes. That's why we're staying here, all right? I have to tiptoe around the fact of that. Sometimes, you don't want other people's toes getting stepped on, but I'm going to be honest. I think this thing is probably going to be tornado warned at some point in the next 30 minutes. If it isn't and it weakens, yippee-yi-yay. But given the fact I've been doing this just a little while and can recognize some basic things such as unimpeded warm inflow, we're dealing with a situation 30 miles from the Gulf Coast where we have plenty of warm, unstable air. And the fact that a storm in a similar environment 30 minutes ago put a tornado down. We're going to keep an eye on this one as we watch it evolve. It is still in its incipient phase, where this is rotation aloft that's trying to descend lower and lower throughout the storm. I think it's getting pretty darn close to the point where we're going to have a tornado warning issued, though. So I'll be honest, if I was in Huffman right now, I'd go ahead and start moving to a safe place. That'd be the lowest floor, center room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We'll go ahead and I'm going to put some roads out here. And again, there is no tornado warning. I don't issue tornado warnings. The only entity that issues tornado warnings officially is the National Weather Service. If any other organization claims they issue tornado warnings, dump them and never listen to them again because they are fools. The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag, which is fine. It's just an indication that rotation is not strong enough to result in a tornado warning, but we definitely are watching it and could have the potential for some damaging straight line winds. So that is what we have. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that includes Kennefic, Dayton, Liberty, Dayton Lakes, same areas we were talking about several hours ago when we had a quick tornado spin up in this same area, but this is a different situation, a different storm. It's going to be for a severe thunderstorm with moderate rotation aloft that's attempting to descend, but not yet at the cusp of producing a tornado. That is going to be located near Lake Houston Parkway and Lakeshore Landing Drive. Breakwater Path Drive. And then eventually this is going to be crossing over Crosby Huffman Road near or south of Humble Huffman Road. Very creative road names, but you know what? I love it. It literally tells you where you're going. It's great. And for the most part, I can pronounce them, which longtime viewers of us know me and pronunciations don't go particularly well. That goes back to speech impediment issues I had as a kid and, well, some dysgraphia. It's not intentional. It's not that I'm a dumb old northern who knows nothing about Texas. I lived in Texas for 20 years, by the way. It's just that sometimes I can't pronounce things, so don't take it personally. Don't get all mad. You're welcome to correct me, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm providing information. You probably know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me go ahead and put some of these road names on there. We've got Crosby the south, Huffman up in this general vicinity of FM 1960. We'll go ahead. I want to get this set up just in case we have to use it. Some housekeeping. And by the way, for those of you joining us, good morning. It's 1:55. No tornado warnings in effect. We're just keeping an eye on this thunderstorm that is southwest of Huffman. Weighing on. Okay, so Humble. Thank you, Jessica, on Twitter. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you were able to see the road names. I try. I don't necessarily know how to pronounce them all, but I can at least get them on the screen. And at some point, yes, I'm going to actually change the font color on this. I realize yellow is not the greatest, but I have to go find the setting, and, well, I'm not going to tinker with it right now. So again, there's no tornado warning. I want to make that clear. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but there's nothing wrong with, going to shelter, treating it like a tornado warning. There's nothing wrong with that. We're keeping an eye on it. Trust me. Weather Service is watching it. We're watching it. Every Houston area meteorologist is watching it. And at this point, we're just talking about some rotation aloft. We get radar updates, both how hard it's raining mode, the which way the wind's blowing mode, about every 3 to 4 minutes, typically. That's what we're waiting for. This scan you're looking at, it was taken at 1:54 seconds. So about 2 minutes 25 to 2 minutes 30 seconds ago, which, hey, now at least you know how much lag time you have between when I just said that and when you get the stream. So that was me dropping my mouse because I'm good at that. And the hardwood floors are good at making it sound like I dropped something much worse. So again, this is a severe storm. We're just keeping an eye on it. You'll notice that inflow notch, that hook we had about 5 to 10 minutes ago, isn't as prevalent now. There's a lot more rain, but we still have some wind aloft, at least, or some rotation aloft, which is what we're watching. I'm just giving it the respect I think it deserves, given what we had happen in Humble about 30 minutes ago. There's no tornado warning right now. There may not be a tornado warning at all with the storm's life cycle, but I'm going to keep an eye on it because, one, it's 2 in the morning. I have nothing better to do. And two, well, you know what? Better to be safe than sorry. I have upset the radar product. Sorry, we're done going back to the 70s. So, we'll just wait and see. Here's the latest reflectivity scan. Now you can see the hooks actually come back a bit. See how much things can change in just 3 minutes or so? You think having a radar scan every 3 to 4 minutes is great, but the evolution of these storms changes in literally 10 seconds. So here's your inflow notch. We've got warm, unstable air coming on in. We've got winds pushing out the backside of the thunderstorm. And keep in mind, this is about, I can tell you exactly. We're looking 2,300 feet above the ground right here. Radar beam down in Dickinson shoots out in a straight line. The Earth curves. If you don't think the Earth curves, you're probably watching the wrong channel. This is for actual science, not conspiracy theories. The Earth curves, so the farther out a radar beam gets from the radar site, the higher up above the Earth's surface it becomes. There are portions of northeast Texas up near Paris that we can't see below 13,000 feet because there's no nearby radar. We're not looking at anything at the low levels of that storm, so trying to find a tornado is like trying to pin the tail on a donkey while the donkeys are running around hee-hawing. It's not easy. Fortunately, there's a new radar going in Durant, Oklahoma, which should be, I believe it's going to be done in June, and that'll make life, in terms of spotting low-level radar features, so much nicer and so much more helpful, and definitely a service to the citizens of Texoma, northeast Texas, and southern Oklahoma. Did I really just make a hee-haw noise on a live stream about severe weather? Well, you can't say our streams aren't interesting from time to time. So at this point, literally, we're just watching, keeping an eye on the velocity data of a severe storm, capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour winds, that also has some rotation aloft. Again, we're looking about, nautical miles, so about 34 to 35 miles from Dickinson in the radar site, looking about 2,300 to 2,400 feet above the surface. If you want, we can actually go up in height with the radar. The radar beam shoots up in height. Now we're looking at 7,300 feet. You can see still strong rotation. That is the mesocyclone of the thunderstorm. The whole updraft is rotating. Look up even further if you want. You can see strong mesocyclone, 15,000 feet above the surface. We'll go ahead and switch back over to reflectivity. Look how different it looks at 15,000 feet than the surface. This is just the updraft of the thunderstorm and then the, precipitation. And if we had hail, but I don't think we have hail. So here we go back to the surface. You can see the hook echo with the thunderstorm is starting to definitely become more visually prevalent. I may have made up a word. It's obviously the hook's back in terms of what I was saying compared to 5 minutes ago when it was less relevant. Well, now you can see the hook again. And that's because we've got these southeast winds clearing out the precip again. The thunderstorm's literally sucking in all the air right up into the mesocyclone, which is an updraft. Literally, the air is going up throughout the thunderstorm. A tornado's an updraft. If we had a tornado, it's an updraft. It literally sucks things up. I mean, obviously you've got stuff blowing around horizontally, but some of that debris can be sucked up tens of thousands of feet at times. If we're talking about like the Kentucky EF4, EF5 tornado back in December, I think there were 2 or 3, not a single long track quad state tornado, but 2 or 3 tornadoes, each with a track of about 150 miles. So debris was lofted 30,000 feet up, the height at which some regional airliners and commercial aircraft fly. So that's impressive. In this case, with weaker tornadoes, if we have one, we're talking maybe 3,000 to 4,000 feet, and that'd be like leaves, maybe some roof shingles, aerodynamic objects like sheet metal. Small objects. We're not talking about like a big 2x4 falling out of the sky. Goodness gracious, no. That is reserved for the scary, violent tornadoes, of which we have none, thankfully, this morning. So, take a look at the... Let's see how this looks. Yeah, you know what? That's actually a pretty good representation of some stronger velocity data. We'll play with this just for fun. You'd see this is where we're still dealing with a fairly broad area of rotation, aloft. I'll switch over to the velocity product. You can see that. We're not dealing with something that's just a pinpoint on a map, bright pink against bright green. We're dealing with something with some broad rotation aloft, about 2,000 to 3,000 feet above the surface. We're just keeping an eye out to see if it's able to tighten up and become a tornado threat. At this time, it is not. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. By the way, let's go ahead and give some folks some clearing. If you're in Kingwood, if you're in Humble, you're clear. You're good. It may be pouring for times, but you're good. Severe weather threat's done. If you're in Kennefic, Dayton, and Liberty, you keep an eye on this storm. Right now, it's severe, capable of producing some damaging winds, heavy rain, a lot of cloud to ground lightning, but we can't rule a tornado out either. And that's why we're still here at 2:03 this Sunday morning, the 9th of January 2022, our first tornado event of the new year across southeast Texas. Began yesterday afternoon. We've had a few brief tornadoes. We had maybe a 2.5, 3 hour lull between tornado issues, and then, well, they came back. So that's life, though. We'll switch it back over to the which way the wind's blowing mode. And again, this isn't a tornado-looking signature right now. This is broad rotation aloft. We're just keeping an eye on. And severe warning. Severe thunderstorm warning for Dane, Kennefic, Liberty. Includes Lake Houston Dam, Lake Houston, Tusco. I'm too tired. And Liberty. So, severe storm, rotation aloft, could have some damaging winds down at the surface. Now, let's do something else. First off, let's look at this little bean, little baby mini supercell. Yeah, it's got weak rotation. Frankly, all these showers and storms since yesterday have been rotating aloft. There's a lot of wind shear aloft. Getting that to translate down to a tornado at the surface, a lot more difficult. So, real quick, I want to switch products. We're going to look at how much rain we've seen just over the last couple of days. So this is rain for this whole event. You can see we're up to 10 inches east of Cleveland, north of Hardin. This is radar estimates, but the ground truth, for example, Harris County Flood Control District rain gauges all over the place confirm this. We've had some rain totals up to 10 inches. So we've had a lot of rain across portions of western and northern Harris County, northeast, through Cleveland, all the way up to Woodville almost. This has been where we've had a real heavy area of rain over, well, the last day. And then you can actually see the track of the supercell that produced a tornado. Probably, we may have had a tornado near LaPorte initially yesterday afternoon, and then we definitely had a tornado with this thunderstorm, I believe, south of Dayton yesterday afternoon. This would have been like, I think, about 6 p.m., I believe. You see the track of that individual storm. So, yeah, rain, a lot of rain. Not necessarily widespread heavy rain, but some folks got a lot of rain. 5 to 10 inches. So, there's that. Back to the storm at hand. You can see our hook still there, not as prevalent. You can still see, though, if I were to point it out, and I will, where you've got your storm structure. See, whoop, there's the edge. You've got warm winds, unstable winds from the south-southeast pushing into the mesocyclone, the thunderstorm. If there's hail, and there might be maybe some dime-size hail, it'd be here. Precipitation, heavy rain. This, your rear flank area, your downdraft, winds coming in out of the north. Now, switch from the how hard it's raining mode, which way the wind's blowing mode, and there you go. I mean, I know my drawing skills are not great. They're better than they used to be, but still. So, good news is, so far this thunderstorm has not managed to organize enough to become tornadic, which is something I feared. So, but we're still going to watch it. Because frankly, my trust level right now, this thing's very low, given that we had a bit of a surprise, very rapid spin up in Humble about 40 minutes ago. So we'll wait and see. Frankly, it's 2 in the morning. There's no harm in us sticking around and keeping an eye on things. It is 2:07 in the morning, by the way. There are no tornado warnings. Only severe storm we have is this thunderstorm west of Dayton, kind of moving towards Dayton and Kennefic. Hopefully it'll stay a bit north of Liberty. Ugh. Radar thinks this thing has quarter-size hail in it, but I don't think we've actually had any hail larger than the size of dimes reported over the last day. So, yeah, you might have some pea-sized hail, enough to make a little noise in the midst of very heavy rain, but excuse me. Oh, Danielle Emerson, thank you. A Tascosita. A Tascosita. Oh, folks in the YouTube channel, you have got to be kidding me, debating biblical prophecies. Let's not. After 2 a.m., who wants to sound intelligent? Hey, I'm with you. Oh, Montgomery had golf ball size hail earlier with that supercell. Okay, that makes sense. We did likely have a brief tornado that actually didn't have a tornado warning with it several hours ago near Montgomery. I think we tweeted out. Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, which if you don't, you can go to our website and click Rapid Update Feed. It's embedded in our site. You don't even have to log in or anything. We use the platform because it's extremely well built for real-time rapid updates, weather and weather news, etc. So the thing had a clear-cut hook. I mean, wow. It was like 5 miles away from the terminal Doppler weather radar site in for Intercontinental Airport, and woo, there is no tornadoes right now. By the way, no tornado warnings. If there was a tornado warning, I would not be talking about storms hours ago or talking about my grammar at 2 in the morning. You see, that is a good question. Which direction is it headed? Here, let's see if I can't get this to at least pop up. This storm is moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. It'll be in. Here we go. See if I can get this to pop up. Good enough. There's some estimated times. No power in Huffman. I'm sorry. Strong winds. Yeah, you're probably in what's called the rear flank. Excuse me, rear flank downdraft winds. Those winds on the backside of the circulation aloft. When's all this going to end? Should be done in a few hours in terms of the severe weather threat. And then it'll move east, and we might have some severe weather in portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia later today. And Louisiana. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Generally, probably along and south of Interstate 20 to the coast for those folks. We're going to get a cold front. So at this point, yeah, we're just keeping an eye on things. Yeah, CG. Some of you may be watching a live stream. Make sure you're actually watching live. We've been live for, let's go look. What? Almost an hour. So some of you commenting may actually be watching the live portion of this video back in the beginning. Uh, or, I mean, some of you may be watching this YouTube video months, years later since we keep them up. But, uh, yeah, right now, no tornado warnings. It's 2:12 in the morning, 9th of January, 2022. All right, I just put out a typed message in the chat, hopefully clarifying that. Huffman is clear. If you are in Huffman and you are west of FM 2100, you're clear. It's still storming, but the strongest winds should be east of you by now. This is going to be closer to Eastgate now. We'll zoom back in. Circulation aloft is on 1960 near Eastgate. And again, I emphasize we're talking about aloft. There's no tornado, no tornado warning. Huffman. Thank you. All the H's are silent. Huh. Humble, Huffman. That's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate it. It is not coming to Austin. The only Austin issue you're going to have is a cold front at some point, but no. No issues in Austin. The radar product or the radar display I'm using is called WSV3 with some custom color tables, custom upper third, which we didn't actually unveil until yesterday, technically, and it's not even done. I've got a Stream Deck here, which is just a keypad that'll let me quickly switch products, and then we're going to actually have the product name, reflectivity, velocity. We're going to have a key on it that essentially, wind's moving away, wind's moving towards, etc. But I'll be honest, I didn't have a chance to finish that yesterday, so in Huffman, okay, and Jeffrey, I'm actually using Windows 11, so the good news is. Storm itself visually on reflectivity looks a lot less organized than it did earlier. You can see the hook echo we were keeping an eye on is gone. We'll switch over to the velocity. You can see, yeah, it's still there, technically aloft. All these things are rotating, but nothing is screaming tornado issues. But we'll just keep an eye out, and frankly, we'll keep an eye on it, because why not? I can keep an eye on the chat now. I'm sorry about your diversion, Joseph. I know it's not fun. I once I think it was 2000, uh, I was doing a Philly to Dallas flight. And yeah, I was like 10 years old, but I still remember we got diverted to Shreveport. It was a squall line. We had to sit on the ground in Shreveport for about 2.5 hours. And then in order to get to DFW, we had to fly all the way south. I believe we actually made it all the way south down to Laredo, and then we were able to come back north. So that was a long flight. Well, Jordan, I'm glad your power's back on. Crosby has no issues. Well, Humble, I mean, I really don't think you're going to have issues again tonight, but I mean, you've got a strong storm moving through the south side of town right now, but Dayton is in a severe thunderstorm warning. This storm we've been watching should pass northwest of at least the center of town, but it's going to be close. Heavy rain, small hail, maybe 50, 60 mile an hour winds. Baldy in chief, yeah. So, by the way, all of you watching, we're streaming. I'm actually able to see all the chat comments from our Facebook stream and our YouTube stream. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and technically I could be streaming on Twitch and a couple different Facebook and YouTube channels, but that's it. we really think our biggest or most growth this year in terms of Texas Storm Chasers is going to be on YouTube. It's no secret for those of you who keep up with Facebook that they've greatly limited news feeds for years. Um, in fact, it's a minor miracle any of you on Facebook see this video. We have 701,000 followers on Facebook. A ordinary post will see about 3 to 5,000 of those people actually see something in our newsfeed show up when we post something. So I have no qualm saying we're not going to be growing on Facebook. We're not getting rid of Facebook, but we're really looking forward to what we have to offer this year on our YouTube channel, on our website and our mobile app. So be sure, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed, not only for live videos like this, but for storm chasing videos. We're going to be live streaming storm chasing videos too. I mean, I'll tell you, one of our guys just spent $1,700 yesterday on video equipment to get ready for streaming this spring while storm chasing. So, yeah, at this point, let me, if we're going to be playing no warnings, let's do this. Let me turn off that. We'll switch to this, and I'll just set a loop up over the last 2 hours. So again, it is 2:20. No tornado warnings. We haven't had tornado warnings in a while. It's been a while. So we're just sticking around, keeping an eye. Those of you across the piney woods of East Texas, it's storming, it's pouring. The only storm that is severe is um, northwest of Dayton, west of Kennefic. Oh boy, the YouTube trolls are just horrible tonight, aren't they? Yeah, Barts? Bots. So, as a reminder, our typical policy usually is if there's a tornado warning in the state of Texas, all 254 counties, we'll usually be going live. Now, I think there are a couple of exceptions. Far like West Texas, the Permian Basin, there may be areas that literally have 10 people in a county. I don't know if we're going to be completely live coverage wall to wall for that, but there are no tornado warnings. And hopefully that means we're going to be done for the night, but I can't say for sure, especially with this thunderstorm near Dayton. That's why we're just here keeping an eye on things. We are live on the Texas Storm Chasers Facebook page, the Texas Storm Chasers YouTube, and the Texas Storm Chasers Twitter. Oh, one of those trolls actually has a really good point. Hold on a second, YouTube channel. I didn't have a chance to do this when we started this, but let me fix that now. There, YouTube chat. That might be enough. There is not hail with these thunderstorms. So the good news is the thunderstorm northwest of Dayton, if we pop back over to the velocity data, you'll see that it is generally calming down. Uh, Velocity data, there we go. It's a broad circulation at this point. It's a strong thunderstorm. It's got some gusty winds, a lot of cloud to ground lightning, maybe some pea-size hail, and some weak rotation aloft, but it isn't anything that looks like it's going to go tornadic anytime soon, if at all, which is good. Got a little mini supercell over Humble. Again, nothing to write home about besides a quick round of heavy rain again. Atlanta, Georgia. Are you talking about, well, Perry? If you're talking about Atlanta, Texas, up in northeast Texas, no. If you're talking about Atlanta, Georgia, yes, you have a chance for a few severe storms later today, being Sunday. Otherwise, this is good news for most folks. We needed the rain. We were starting to quickly get into drought conditions across East Texas, which our friends in West Texas have all but known all winter. But we were starting to see some increased initial attack activity in the wildfire department across the piney woods and across East Texas, which wasn't good. So hopefully this round of rain, plus another widespread round of rain, I believe we're looking at Thursday of this week, will hopefully squash that developing drought, at least partially in the bud. Anton Vortex 2 was a research project back in 2010 and I believe 2011. The involved various programs. The radar programs themselves, there's various researchers at various universities across the country. I believe A&M has one. A&M and Bryan College Station actually have their own radar site. That is on top of one of the buildings in College Station. Texas Tech out of Lubbock has their own mobile radar and some vehicles with instruments on them. They can go anywhere in the country. University of Oklahoma has multiple mobile radars. Same deal. And then UCAR, I believe, out of Boulder, Colorado, did have radars. I believe those are now being used and owned, whatever, from a university in Illinois, with a majority of the, was it UCAR or NCAR? National Center for Environmental Research. I'm going to make sure I got that right. I don't think NCAR is what I'm looking for. No, it's not. Excuse me. Let me be perfectly clear. NCAR, the National Center for Environmental Research, is not who I was talking about. It was the Center for Severe Weather Research, CSWR, and those are now owned by the University of Illinois, which is, oh, where is the University of Illinois besides Illinois, right? Urbana Champion, Illinois. So yeah, there's still research and stuff done. The radars are out there. But again, no tornado warnings. My concern over this cell north of Liberty near Kennefic has decreased over the last 15 minutes. If this continues, frankly, we might be able to call it quits here in 10 minutes or so and, well, be done with this whole event, and yours truly can go to bed. We'll keep an eye on it just in case. There's nothing wrong with that. Only severe thunderstorm we have is this storm that is northwest of Dayton. If you're in the city of Dayton, you're fine. This is staying well northwest of town. Moving towards Kennefic and Dayton Lakes, hardened, potential for pea-size hail, winds 50 to 60 miles an hour, perhaps, and then another quick 2 to 3 inches of rain, unfortunately. Y'all have dealt with, I think some folks up here have had over 7 inches of rain since, well, yesterday. Any new results from the Vortex 2? I don't know. Well, let me be clear. I'm not necessarily involved in the whole scientific field aspect of all that. I haven't heard. I'm sure, I know there's still probably some research being done, whether articles being published in academia and all that. There is a project called Vortex SE Southeast that actually revolves around researching tornadoes in places like, well, I believe the Tennessee Valley and north central Alabama. CJ, CG, yes, we are the Texas Storm Chasers. We cover all 254 counties in Texas, all the way from Dalhart up in the Panhandle down to Brownsville, South Padre Island, McAllen, the Rio Grande Valley, from El Paso in the borderland to Beaumont in the Golden Triangle, from Texarkana in the Arklatex, all the way down to Del Rio in the Edwards Plateau. Trust me, I could fill y'all with regional names across Texas. Let's see. The Panhandle, West Texas, has the Rolling Plains, the South Plains. You've got the Permian Basin, West Central Texas, Northwest Texas, the Big Country around Abilene, the Concho Valley around San Angelo. You've got the Guadalupe Mountains near the New Mexico border. You've got the lower elevations of the Trans Pecos where I-10 and 20 meet up. You've got the Davis Mountains around Alpine, Marfa. Then you've got Big Bend National Park. You've got the Edwards Plateau around Del Rio, Eagle Pass, or Laredo. You've got the Hill Country, beautiful area west of I-35. You've got, obviously, Texoma, southern Oklahoma, North Texas, north of 380-ish, North Texas, Central Texas, South Central Texas around San Antonio. You've got the Coastal Bend, which is the area from like Victoria to Corpus Christi where the coast bends. You've got Deep South Texas. You've got the Rio Grande Valley around McAllen to Brownsville. You've got the Coastal Plains around Victoria. You've got the Middle Texas coast, more terminology used for hurricane season. Upper Texas coast from Galveston up towards, well, Sabine Pass. You've got the Golden Triangle around Beaumont. You've got the piney woods of East Texas, generally 96 from pretty much all the way from Buna, Kirbyville up Jasper, St. Augustine, Hemp Hill, Center, Tenaya, Carthage. And then, of course, you have East Texas. So, and trust me, I promise you, I don't know all of them. I am always learning new regions of Texas. Whew. But yeah, no tornado warnings. We haven't had tornado warnings in quite a while now. Let me fix the zoom aspect. We'll take a look at the storm relative velocity. Again, this is kind of an outflowy looking situation. Um, Here, I'll show y'all. See this? This isn't necessarily a something I'd be concerned about tornado genesis. These are winds moving away from the radar. Notice how it's kind of bowing out, outflowy. So I'd be more concerned if we ended up having this kind of bowie shape turn into something more like this. I'd be concerned with that. And then, and if we had something like this, where the essentially the wind shift line ended up being more horizontal versus vertical. That being said, we're keeping an eye on it. So there's your nerdy lesson. I'm really happy to see all the chatting going on in our YouTube channel. Those of you on Facebook, those of you on Twitter, we've got a great conversation going on our YouTube channel right now. We're almost to 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're so happy about that. Our goal is to get over 100,000, hopefully this spring. So those of you who might be watching on Facebook, those of you watching on Twitter, those of you who might be watching our YouTube stream and aren't subscribed, we'd really appreciate it if you hit the bell, hit subscribe, help us get over 70,000. We're really going to have a great year in terms of providing content, not only in the state of Texas, mind you. We chase all over the country, live streaming video, etc. So not only the recorded stuff, we are uploading quite regularly now that we hope you enjoy. So there are no tornado warnings in the state of Texas. The only warning we have that isn't flood related is a severe thunderstorm warning shown in this orange box, and that is for the potential of 60-mile-an-hour winds and perhaps some pea-size hail. Now, I am going to spend just a second. I'm going to get a lightning feed to put on here. I'm noticing a pretty significant uptick in lightning output, cloud-to-ground lightning output. I don't usually have it on because the lightning, well, as some of y'all might imagine, outside of the winter, usually we have more than enough lightning to fill up a screen, and that gets a little messy. But here is the latest lightning. We're seeing a pretty good lightning increase with this thunderstorm. We're going to show you some other products I don't normally show. This is a vertically integrated liquid. It's just the amount of frozen. It's a hail indicator, but it can also be used as an updraft strength indicator. We'll look at echo tops of thunderstorm up to about 47,000 feet. We'll look at the estimated hail size, and again, it's about quarter size, maybe $half. But again, we haven't really heard of any big hail reports, so that's more of a not something I usually will show on screen, but use it off screen to kind of judge the short-term intensity changes of an updraft. Generally speaking, the updraft's intensifying. You'll see those indications like hail increase while weakening, vice versa. So that combined with the uptick in lightning has me intrigued. We're going to keep an eye on this. Thank you for the super chat, CG. Appreciate it. The tops of the thunderstorm, the height of the cloud height, has definitely increased over the last 10 minutes, which corresponds well with the uptick in cloud-to-ground lightning. Needless to say, those of you around Dayton, Kennefic, over to Hardin, Dayton Lakes, y'all are getting blasted with cloud-to-ground lightning right now. I mean, some of these lightning strikes are well outside the precipitation. If y'all hadn't already had several inches of rain from earlier storms, I'd be concerned about grass fires starting. But hopefully, you don't have any of that. If this was in North Texas or the DFW Metroplex, I'd be worried about all this lightning hitting houses and setting houses on fire. That seems to be an issue that DFW sees frequently. You're asking about that area near Matagorda Bay. No, you're good. Matagorda Bay area, southwest of Houston, you're fine. You are good to go. So again, not seeing any signs of organized, strong rotation. This is just winds changing direction, the thunderstorm. I mean, yeah, it's spinning aloft, but nothing at the surface. that would indicate problematic behavior at this time. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on it. Over the last several hours, let's see, we did have a tornado in Humble. That was likely a tornado. I know we had a tornado just south of Intercontinental Airport yesterday, or this past evening, around 5, I believe, right off Loop 8 at John F. Kennedy Boulevard. I believe we had a tornado earlier uh, south of Dickens, and then we may have had a tornado near LaPorte and Baytown. So I think we probably had at least 3 or 4 brief tornadoes over the last 12 hours in southeast Texas. I'll admit, I didn't expect that many. I really didn't think I'd be doing, what are we, over an hour? So yeah, we're about up to 3.5, 4 hours of stop and go coverage. I didn't think I'd be doing that. So, oh, stormy. Might be seeing a bit of an uptick in rotation. Remember what I was talking about, the relative orientation of the velocities earlier? How it's like, if it's like that, not as worried, but if we start going with something like that, or this, starting to orient a little less like an outflow boundary and a little more as a rotation. Mind you, we're not talking something strong enough to produce a tornado right now. We're just talking about an area of confluence or an area of some enhancement we're watching. And I'm kind of just nitpicking. I'm doing some analysis out loud here. Yeah, let me see if I can get the velocities to animate without breaking this program. I'll switch to a different product. Let me go ahead and hit that. Let me switch. That might help. Oops, let me get rid of that. This is going to look a little different than what I was just showing you, but if I loop what I was showing you, we're going to blow this program straight to Kingdom Come. I don't know if it actually loops that well, but you can see how we're starting to get a little... Oh, here. You know what? I'll load. But don't be shocked if I have to restart the program. Oh, data. Oh, data. I'm going to try to load this without blowing the program up. It's trying. You can see it was less organized, but now we're starting to get a little more organization on the southern flank of this thunderstorm. Mind you, not anywhere close to enough to cause tornado issues at this point, but just something I'm watching. We'll switch over to the reflectivity, and here, let me turn off that interpretation. I see we're trying to go back with inflow notchy type feature. Watch it. Here. And now we turn on the beam continuous mode where everything kind of blends together. Bryson, this is a program called WSV3. If you add a .com to that, you'll get the URL for the product on the internet. And for those of you wondering what I'm looking at around me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 monitors around me. Thank you for the report, Starla. Yeah, there's been a lot of rain in parts of southeast Texas tonight. Not a lot of areas, but a relatively narrow corridor that you can see in these green boxes. West side of Harris County up to northern Harris County. northeast up into Montgomery County, and then up into Liberty and Polk County. Some of these folks have seen 5 to 10 inches of rain since yesterday afternoon. Definitely enough to cause a lot of quick rises on creeks and bayous, but fortunately, those and well, the dry weather as of late shouldn't result in too much major flooding. I don't actually know if there's a lot of storm chasers out tonight. None of ours are, mind you. Um, it's not really too safe to chase at night, and especially in this part of Texas, there's a lot of trees. Not to mention, pretty all the rain caused some street flooding. The computer I have, I've actually got a Intel i9. I've got a NVIDIA 2080 Ti with 11 gigabytes of virtual RAM, and that is mainly for video processing. I've got a NVIDIA 980 running for the monitors, and that usually is not on. I usually only have 2 or 3 monitors on at a time. As you might imagine, it gets a little toasty in here. Monitor wise, they're all different shapes and sizes, extending up to about 15 years old. So if you're wondering if I have all fancy identical LEDs, no, I do not. I do have some older monitors that are heat sinks. So one thing I am missing out on though is RAM. I've only got 16 gig of RAM in this machine, which I can't believe actually manages to let me do what it does. But I've anytime I ever want to go buy more RAM or something, I end up or some new DDR4 to add on to it or bump it up to 32 gig, I end up having to spend the money on something else. And if those of you wondering if I do gaming, yes. Um, you can't see it, but I'm very much into flight simulation. I've got a yoke, I've got a throttle quadrant. I don't have any rudder pedals. And I've been into flight sim ever since I was a kid, back in the FS9 or FS 2004 days, for those of you who might be familiar with that. Otherwise, I do some city building games like City Skylines as time allows. And mind you, this computer, I mean, it works great. It works fine. It's just sometimes I wish I had a little more memory. But again, when you're running 8 monitors off a single computer, sometimes things happen. But honestly, no, I haven't had any issues. Processor works great. RAM increase would only be if for stuff like video editing and photo editing in Adobe products. But let's just say I don't think Adobe products are all that optimized, at least when it comes to video editing. So again, it's 246. Russian, you don't have to do that. I mean, I appreciate it, but you really don't. Um, all right, so yeah, it's 247. I don't have any tornado warnings. We've got flash flood warnings galore. All the tornadoes over the last day in southeast Texas should have been small and brief, not the kind that we saw in Kentucky in December that were down for hours and ended up leveling towns. Yari, I am using currently, for years I've used XSplit, but I'm currently switching over to OBS, probably. In terms of streaming, I'm going through Restream just to save me some bandwidth, but I do have the pipes here to stream to multiple networks simultaneously without the need for a third-party service if I wanted. Is there any danger of flooding in Huffman? That is a good question. From additional rain tonight, no. I do believe you are under or with or near a flash flood warning, but the radar program I'm using, no, this program is a paid program. Um, I've actually have a couple different licenses for it, and I believe these days it is only a monthly subscription, but it is a good program indeed. There will not be any severe storms in Tennessee today. The threat for severe weather later today. I'll show you actually. Here's a severe weather outlook for later today. This is a level 1 out of 5 risk. Lowest is level 1, so mainly from, I'm just going to say, along in south of Interstate 20 or along in south of Interstate 5920 from Monroe, Louisiana to Starkville, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, over to Macon, Georgia, down to the Gulf Coast. Let me turn the warnings back on. We'll take a look at the velocity. I will admit that appendage looks interesting. I'm going to do, let's go ahead and draw where that is on the radar. Let's see if it correlates over into velocity data. It doesn't. So that little appendage you saw, some might think is a hook, and it might be. Notice there's the velocity where the reds and greens switch, where there's some minor rotation aloft, is north of that. So I'm not too worried about that right now. That might just be a shower popping up in the trailing region of the thunderstorm. We're going to watch it, though. And plan is for now to probably head to bed for the night in 10 minutes, which would be 3 a.m. Central Time or 9 Zulu or UTC. I'll admit, where I am right now, I'm glad it's cooling off outside. After living in Texas for 20 years, I actually moved up to Oklahoma, well, technically Norman, Oklahoma, several years ago. And where I am now, we had a cold front pass through. I believe it went from about 55 degrees an hour and a half ago to we're down to 48, or excuse me, 44 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill of 38 Fahrenheit. Should be down, oh, probably temperature wise, about 2 degrees Celsius or 35 degrees Fahrenheit here before long. And I say thank heavens because yeah, this room I'm in gets quite warm. And it doesn't matter what room I'm in. With all these monitors, computer equipment, it gets warm. So we actually have our own air conditioning unit just for this room. It sits behind me. You can't see it on camera. We've got a server rack shelf. I've got 3 towers sitting on it in addition to all the other various networking equipment and hard drives. And then typically behind me would be someone else sitting with their gaming computer for weather related purposes and 4 more monitors. So honestly, I'm surprised we haven't blown fuses in this room, but most powerful tornado ever recorded was the El Reno tornado on May 31st, 2013, or the May 3rd, 1999 tornado that impacted Moore, Oklahoma. Winds were over 300 miles per hour, which equates to about 483 kilometers per hour. I know we use the imperial system here in the United States, but I know everyone else uses metric, so occasionally, if I have time or whatever, I do try to convert. So, again, plan is to quit in about 7 minutes, assuming we don't have any more mischief develop. Uh, Oh, look at this, look at this. A little severe thunderstorm warning north of Jasper near Browndale. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch radar sites to take a closer look at this storm. I'm going to switch on my other display as well. Look like some winds up to about 60 miles an hour. Could have some small hail. A little bit of rotation with this thunderstorm southwest of Browndale, crossing over Highway 63 between Jasper and Zavala. No tornado with this, mind you, just a severe storm. And again, all of y'all watching, I hope you've given us a subscribe on YouTube. I hope you've subscribed to us on YouTube, and thank you for watching us on all of our various platforms. We have not had a tornado warning for about an hour now, and our plan is to hit the sack here in about 5 minutes, assuming we don't have any new mischief develop, and if we do, we'll be back. But I'm going to be right back. BRB. That is what I'm looking at right now, Richard. Assume question about new rotation was for this. Something I'm curious about is you see this thunderstorm. I'm curious if this shot an outflow boundary south. If it did, this thunderstorm we're looking at circled is likely elevated, meaning the threat for a tornado would be much, much lower if rotation ever developed to support it. I'll give credit though. Yeah, it has an interesting signature on it, but I'm not super concerned about it this moment. Yes, the entirety of the Houston metro is done with the severe weather threat. And for those of you watching our live stream on the Texas Storm Chasers Facebook and Twitter, we're going to go ahead and turn the Facebook and Twitter feeds off, but we'll stay on YouTube for now. So if you'd like to continue to chit chat with us, make sure you are watching us on the Texas Storm Chasers YouTube channel. And as always, if we have a new tornado warning, we'll be back on all of our platforms. And YouTube, we are still here. We are going to keep an eye on this thunderstorm west of Kennefic, just north of Eastgate. Though I don't believe it's going to be problematic, it doesn't hurt to keep an eye on it for a few more minutes. I'll admit, reflectivity-wise, it certainly has an interesting look to it. Pretty good hook echo. Switch over to the which way the wind's blowing mode, and yeah, I mean, it's got some mid-level rotation. What I'm drawing now is where I think, well, here, let me redo that. It's where I think the outflow might be. And I'm curious to see if that is on the southern flank of the storm or a bit south of it. You see, that's interesting to me. You see how that is just south of the thunderstorm? It makes me wonder if the storm is indeed behind an area of outflow and outflow boundary for left from the previous storm, which would make this thunderstorm a bit elevated above the surface, meaning the threat for a tornado is much, 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 much lower. Or not. Obviously, it doesn't matter in terms of the thunderstorm itself. Yeah, it's rotating, but we are looking 3,000 feet above the surface. It doesn't really matter if it's rotating 3,000 feet above the surface as long as it doesn't rotate down to the surface. Typically, at this time of night, 3 a.m., there'd be a stronger capping inversion or an inversion that would make it more difficult for surface-based thunderstorms. That's especially true inland, further away from the Gulf of Mexico, where it's not so humid. But in this case, I don't think that inversion exists. Thunderstorm is definitely starting to intensify in terms of its updraft intensity. It's tail end Charlie. It might, in terms of the updrafts, this new one, west of Kennefic, may actually be taking over. Notice how the storm further northeast that we've been watching has kind of turned into a blob, while this new tail end Shirley seems to be taking on more of a cellular type structure to it. Again, there's no tornado warnings, there's no severe thunderstorm warnings, there's just flash flood warnings, and we're just watching this because, well, it's 3 in the morning. Why not? But again, hopefully we were done with our last tornado warning over an hour ago, and hopefully we will not have any more in the state of Texas today or for this foreseeable future. We've got some strong thunderstorms impacting Highway 96 from Highway 103 and Bronson all the way down through Pineland, Brownell, Jasper. We've got some rain in Kirbyville. Those storms are capable of producing wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, perhaps some nickel-size hail. They'll be moving into Louisiana over the next 60 to 80 minutes. Looking from Louisiana down into the storms in southeast Texas, I was just curious. We'll switch back over to the Leak City radar now. Closest radar gives us the lowest level look at these thunderstorms, and that's what you want for low level velocity data. Look up, look up, look up. So, yeah, I mean, all these storms are still rotating aloft, but they haven't had the ingredients necessary to produce tornadoes surface rotation for over an hour now. And I'm optimistic that will continue to be the case this morning. We'll give it 5 more minutes just to make sure, and if so, that would be 10 minutes after the hour. We will call it a night, assuming there's no additional tornado warnings, in which case alarm bells will go off, my sleep will be cut short, and I'll come running in here and probably slip on the wood floor and hit my head on something. But we'll still be here. Otherwise, let's go ahead. Let's turn off radar data. We're going to turn on surface temperatures in Fahrenheit. We'll switch on the surface temperature background. You can see it's a cold front coming down. Temperatures are below zero in both Fahrenheit and Celsius. Across the Dakotas, temperatures below freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. Down into Kansas, and that colder air is moving on south with a cool front, but it won't stick around long as temperatures will be back into the 60s and 70s across all of Texas within a day or two. Quite warm, that's for sure. Oh, -5 Celsius, not too bad. Turn the radar data back on. I knew I was forgetting something. Oh, Mr. Radar. Yeah, we thought it was calming down too at midnight. I actually, if you see the orange shirt, I actually was on the elliptical in my garage here for just about 5 minutes, and then I had to run back in here all sweaty, and we began tornado coverage, and we've been on ever since, and we are now 1 hour 18 minutes in. So again, plan is to head off here in about 2.5 minutes. And hopefully y'all won't see me again today. Though, yes, I'll still be watching, albeit from a more comfortable position than here in the office. I say here in the office. To be honest, my bedroom's about my bed's about 20 feet away in another room, so I can't say I have the worst commute. Get a lot of tree dam. Well, just a report out of Plum Grove now, but this was a tree down on a structure at 6 p.m. Central Time yesterday. Looks like the tornado that impacted portions of Humble up to Kingwood did knock a lot of trees down, some structure damage, trees down on houses, which is a side effect of the beautiful landscape across southeast Texas, east Texas, etc. Is all the trees beautiful, but In severe storms, they fall down on things. Now, if I can get this product to load, I'm going to show y'all something before I head off for the night. This is a different weather radar. This is going to be the terminal Doppler weather radar out of for Houston Intercontinental Airport. If it'll load. You see, we're not really seeing any significant low-level rotation with this thunderstorm right now. This is a different look at a radar that's a bit closer. Yeah, it's got a hook echo, but nothing too significant in the low levels. But again, we'll be keeping an eye on it. So that being said, I'm David-Reimer with the Texas Storm Chasers. Thank you all for joining us this morning on our YouTube channel. It's been fun chatting with y'all in a more leisurely fashion over the last hour. Those of you who may be watching this video down the road, thanks for joining us. The tornado coverage part of this was mainly for the first 45 minutes or less or so. But with that being said, I'm going to go get some sleep. But if for some reason this stupid storm decides to be a pain in the behind, I'll be back. Groggy-eyed but present. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all the subscribers tonight. Thank you all for keeping me company. 9 days into the new year and many more days, I'm sure, that we'll be doing this. So have a good night. Those of you on the other side of the pond, have a good day. God bless. Have a good one. Good night, y'all.